The wind blew across the burned ruins of what was once a village on the planet Virexa. Dust rose with each step the human soldier took. His name was Lance Carter, and he was sent here to check for survivors, or so the mission said. But in 3 hours he hadn't seen anyone alive, just silence. And the smell of ash. Then he heard it, a soft cry, like a child's whimper. It came from the dark side of a collapsed wall. Lance raised his weapon, moving slowly. His boots crunched over broken glass and stone. Another sound came, barely a whisper, a cough. Then a quiet sob. He turned the corner and froze. There, hiding behind a pile of rubble, was an alien woman. Her body was thin, wrapped in torn cloth. Her skin was a pale silver blue, and her long dark hair was messy and stuck to her face. Her eyes were wide with fear. Beside her were 3 small alien children, even thinner than her. One of them clung to her leg. Another was lying on her lap, too weak to move. When they saw the human soldier, all 3 children trembled and pulled closer to their mother. Lance slowly lowered his weapon. "Hey, I'm not gonna hurt you." The woman didn't answer. She just tightened her arms around the kids, her body shaking. "I'm not here to take you," Lance said gently. "I'm human, not a slaver. Are you okay?" Still, she said nothing. But one of the children whispered something in their alien language. Lance didn't understand it, but the tone was clear. They were hungry. He reached into his bag and took out a food pack. He opened it and placed it on the ground, then stepped back. "Here, it's not much, but it's safe." The woman looked at the food. Her lips trembled. She looked at her kids, then at him. She pushed the food toward the smallest child. The child took it slowly, as if scared it might disappear. The others followed, eating like they hadn't had food in days. Still, the woman didn't eat. "What's your name?" Lance asked softly. She finally spoke. Her voice was low and broken. Zura, he repeated. "Nice to meet you. I'm Lance. Are you the children's mother?" She nodded. "They're yours?" he asked. Zura nodded again. "Mine, all I have." Lance looked at the kids. They were skinny, dirty, and scared, but alive. He knelt beside her, not too close. "You've been hiding here a long time?" "Since the bombing," she whispered. "My mate, he died. I ran with the children. No food, no help." "They don't take widows back." Lance frowned. "Who's they?" Zura looked at him with tired eyes. "The overseers. The mine owners. They say a widow is useless. No use, no value." His jaw tightened. One of the children coughed hard. The smallest one clung to Zura, too weak to cry. "They're sick," she said quietly. "Cold, no medicine, just me." Lance looked around. There was nothing here. No beds, no heat. Not even clean water. He stood. "You can't stay here. You'll all die." Zura looked down. "Then we die." He stared at her, stunned. "That's it." She met his eyes. "We don't belong anywhere. If we go back, they'll take the children and sell them. If we move, raiders will catch us. If we ask for help, they'll laugh. So yes, that's it." Lance took a deep breath. "I have a camp," he said. "It's not far. It has food, clean water, a heater. You can rest there." She shook her head. "They'll shoot us." "We're aliens. Not if I bring you in," Lance said. "I'll say you're with me." Zura hesitated. Then she did something that broke his heart. She lifted one of her children and held them out slightly toward him. "Take them," she whispered. "If you can't take all, take at least one. Let one live." Lance stepped back, shocked. "I'm not leaving any of you here. I'm taking all of you." Her lips trembled. "Why?" He knelt down again. "Because I'm human. And because no one should be left to die like this." Tears filled Zura's eyes. She looked down and nodded. "Okay." Lance helped her stand. She was weak, and her legs almost gave out, but she carried one child while he picked up the other. 2. As they walked away from the ruined village, Xeno whispered something. He glanced over. What did you say? She looked at him with soft eyes. If you take us, will you keep us? Asterisk, the human camp was loud, cold, and full of strange smells. Machines beeped. Soldiers laughed. Weapons clanked. Xeno held her children closer. Eyes darting around like a hunted animal. Her feet had never stepped on metal floors before. The sharp lights above made her blink. She wasn't used to this world. Lance walked beside her, carrying one of the children. He glanced at her and smiled. No one's gonna hurt you here. She didn't believe him. The moment they entered the mess area, heads turned. Human soldiers stopped eating. Whispers spread like wildfire. Who brought that alien in? Is she one of those mine widows? Looks broken. Like a stray mutt. Xeno flinched at the words. She understood just enough English to feel the shame. But Lance didn't stop walking. He kept his head high and led her to a corner with a small heater. He gave the children blankets and water. Then he turned to the gawking soldiers. If you're done staring, he said, go polish your boots. Some laughed. Some just looked away. One soldier, big and red-faced, stepped closer. Lance, what are you doing? She's not one of us. She's a mother, Lance said, calm but firm. She's a burden. Lance looked him dead in the eye. So was I once. That shut him up. Xeno didn't speak. She just pulled her kids closer. Her middle child coughed again. The smallest was shaking from hunger. Lance handed her another food pack. Eat, he said softly. I'm fine, she replied. You're not. You're starving. She looked down. They eat first, always. Lance sat beside her. You don't have to protect them alone now. Let someone help. She finally opened the food and took a small bite. Her hands shook. Her eyes filled with tears, but she didn't let them fall. That night, Xeno and the children slept in Lance's tent. He took the floor while they rested on the cot with clean sheets. The heater hummed quietly. Xeno didn't sleep much. She watched the human man who had saved them. He had no reason to care, yet he did. Why? The next day, Lance sat with the children outside the tent. He was showing them how to hold a spoon properly. The youngest girl giggled. It was the first sound of joy she had made in weeks. Xeno stepped out and saw them. Her heart felt strange, warm and tight. She walked up slowly. They like you. They're fast learners, Lance smiled. Just needed a chance. Xeno lowered her head. Why are you doing this? Lance didn't answer right away. He tossed a pebble into the dirt. I had no parents. Grew up in the system. I know what it's like to be hungry. To feel unwanted. He looked at her. No one helped me, but I survived. Now maybe I get to help someone else survive too. Xeno blinked. Her voice was soft. You don't even know us. I know enough. Later that evening, Lance was called to a meeting. Xeno waited with the children near the campfire. She heard her name. She moved closer to the meeting tent and stopped just outside the flap. You're being too soft, Carter, the officer growled. You're protecting some used-up alien widow. It's bad optics. She's not a threat, Lance said firmly. She's nothing. A broken thing. From a broken world. Xeno's chest tightened. She stepped back slowly and walked away. When Lance returned, he found her sitting alone. You heard them? He asked. She nodded. I'm sorry, he said, but she shook her head. They're not wrong. He sat beside her. Yes, they are. Xeno looked at him, confused. They see a broken widow, he said. I see a mother who gave up her food, her sleep, her safety for her kids. I had no choice, she said. That's what makes it brave. That night, as the children slept, Xeno sat beside Lance in the dark. She whispered, If we stay with you, will you keep them safe even if I can't? Lance didn't reply right away. Then he turned to her. I'll protect them. And I'll protect you too. Xeno stared at him, tears finally running down her cheeks. She wiped them quickly, embarrassed. "I don't want your pity." "It's not pity," he said gently. "It's respect." She looked down. Then in the quietest voice she said, "I used to dream of someone like you, before the war." Lance didn't move. He just whispered back, "Then maybe that dream's still alive." The rain came without warning. Soft at first, then heavy, wild, cold. The kind of rain that carried the pain of the past. Zura stood outside the tent, soaked. She didn't move. She let the water fall over her face like she was trying to wash away her shame. Her hands shook. Her knees felt weak. But it wasn't the rain that broke her. It was the kindness. No one had ever given her a blanket without expecting something back. No one had ever spoken to her with respect, not since her mate died. And now this strange human, this Lance, treated her like she mattered. She didn't understand it. Zura looked at the warm tent behind her. Her children were safe inside, eating, laughing softly dry. Lance had even brought them a toy, a small earth cube that lit up when touched. He had asked nothing in return. "Why?" she whispered to the rain. "Why are you doing this?" She didn't hear Lance walk up behind her. "You'll get sick out here." She turned, startled. Her cheeks were wet, not just from the rain. "Go back inside," he said gently. "You don't have to freeze to prove anything." "I'm not trying to prove anything," she whispered. "I'm trying to understand." "Understand what?" Zura stepped closer. "Why are you helping us, human?" Lance looked at her, eyes calm but deep. "Because you needed help." "That's not a reason," she said. "People see us, and they turn away. Some throw stones. Others spit. We're not worth anything to them." "Then they're wrong," he said. She stared at him, voice shaking. "But I am broken. You saw me. I begged you to take my children. I gave up. I failed." "No," Lance said, stepping forward. "You survived. You fought harder than anyone else. You're still here." Zura looked down. "You don't know what I've done to keep them alive." "I don't need to," Lance said. "I can see it in your eyes. You love them." "That's enough." Back inside the tent, the children had made a small mess with the glowing cube. The youngest one was giggling. The others were poking it and watching it flash red and blue. Zura watched from the flap. "They smile because of you," she said quietly. "They smile because of you," Lance replied. "You kept them alive long enough to smile again." She didn't answer. Instead, she sat down on the edge of the cot and let herself relax, just a little. The next day, Zura stepped outside and found something strange. Lance had set up a table. On it were strange tools, wires, and a translator device. "What's this?" she asked. He smiled. "I'm going to teach your kids something." Zura looked at him, confused. "They need skills," he said. "Tools, tech, words. Things no one can take from them." "You do that for them? I do that with them." Zura helped bring the children over. Lance spoke slowly, showing them how to connect wires, how to press the buttons. He pointed to the translator and said, "This speaks both our languages. Let's learn together." Zura watched with wide eyes as her kids, once too scared to talk, began to repeat words in English. "Light. Wire. Safe." One of them said, "Friend," and looked up at Lance. Zura covered her mouth to stop herself from crying. That night, after the children fell asleep, Lance handed Zura a small packet of tea. She looked at it. "This smells nice. Chamomile," he said, "good for stress." They sat beside the fire pit, steam rising from the cups. Zura looked at him for a long time. "You risk everything for us," she said. "Why?" he shrugged. "Because I believe you're worth it." She stared at the fire. Then, slowly, she asked, "Are all humans like you?" "No," Lance chuckled. "Most would have walked by. Some might have reported you. Some might have. Worse. Then why didn't you?" He looked at her, his voice low and steady. "Because I've seen enough death. Enough hate. I wanted to do something different. Something human. Zura leaned forward, eyes burning. Then let me ask again, truly, why are you helping me? Lance didn't blink, because no one helped me when I needed it. And I swore I'd never let someone else feel that same pain again, if I had the power to stop it. Zura closed her eyes, and for the first time in many long seasons, she believed someone meant it. Asterisk, the sound of boots marching, sharp, loud, echoed through the human outpost. Zura froze mid-step, her hands still wet from washing the children's clothes. Her senses sharpened. Her heart pounded. She knew that sound. It was the sound of enforcers. She had heard it once before. Right before they took her neighbor's daughter and sold her to the black market breeders. Now they were here. For her. Lance came running from the command tent, a deep frown on his face. Zura, he said, grabbing her arm gently. They're here, the alien mine patrol. They say you and your children are still property of the labor guild. They're demanding you be returned. Zura's face went pale. They found us. The children heard the words. The middle one burst into tears. The youngest ran to hide under the cot. The oldest stepped in front of Zura, trying to be brave. Lance turned toward the entry gate. 2 tall alien officers, in black and gold armor, marched in with long rifles. One of them pointed at Zura. There she is. The widow. That unit and her spawn belong to Sector 9. We have orders to reclaim our property. Lance stepped in front of Zura, arms wide. She's under my protection. She and the children are part of my camp now. The enforcer narrowed his eyes. Your camp? Human, are you saying you've claimed a breeding class widow without registry permission? She's a person, Lance growled. Not a crate, not a tool, not your property. She offered herself to survive, the second enforcer snapped. She forfeited her rights. You have no authority over our kind. Zura stepped forward, trembling. Don't fight them, she whispered to Lance. If you resist, they'll punish the children. Or worse. No, Lance said, voice like stone. I won't let them take you. She looked up at him, heart breaking. Then they'll kill you. He turned to her slowly. Then I'll die on my feet. A crowd was gathering now. Human soldiers, alien workers, medics, they all watched in silence. One of the enforcers lifted a data pad. Unless you can prove she belongs to you, she must come with us. Lance looked at Zura and made a choice. He reached into his neck pouch and pulled out a dull metal coin. It was old. A military keepsake. But more than that, it was part of an ancient Virexan tradition he had learned during peacekeeping missions. He stepped toward Zura. I claim her, he said loudly, holding out the coin. Everyone gasped. Zura's eyes went wide. You, what are you doing? This, Lance said, pressing the coin gently into her hand, means you're mine now, not as a slave, not as a shield, but as something no one can take unless you let them. The enforcers paused. They looked at each other, muttering. Finally said, if the bond is witnessed by her words, we cannot interfere, but she must speak it. All eyes turned to Zura. She was shaking. Her lips trembled. Her children stared up at her, confused and scared. Slowly she looked at Lance. You want to claim me? Lance nodded. Only if you say yes, but I won't let them take you. Not now, not ever. Tears rolled down her cheeks. Then she turned to the enforcers and raised the coin. I accept the bond, she said, loud and clear. I am under his house, his care, his name. The words echoed. And with them, the law was sealed. The enforcers backed off. Fine, for now. But if she leaves the camp border, we'll be watching. They turned and marched away. As the gates closed, the silence returned. Zura fell to her knees, crying into her hands. Lance rushed to her side. Zura, she looked up, eyes filled with fear and confusion. Do you understand what you've done? I do, he said. Then why? Because I won't lose you. I won't let the children grow up without a mother. I won't let you be taken like a thing. Zura breathed hard. Her hands clutched the coin. She whispered, then, from this moment, I belong to you. It was quiet after the storm, but inside Zura's chest, thunder still rolled. She sat by the fire outside the human camp, her children finally asleep in Lance's tent. The warmth of the flames didn't reach the cold inside her. She held the coin in her hand, the same one Lance gave her to stop the enforcers, to protect her, to claim her. That act saved her life. And yet, it had changed everything. Now the camp looked at her differently. Some whispered behind her back. Others avoided her. But she didn't care about them. She only cared about the man who had stood in front of death. For her, footsteps. Lance sat beside her with 2 cups of warm broth. He handed one to her. I thought you might be cold, he said softly. Zura didn't look at him. She just asked, why did you choose me? He didn't answer right away. The fire popped between them. Then he said, because I didn't want to lose you. And I wasn't going to let them take the kids either. But now I'm yours. She whispered, your responsibility, your problem. Lance looked at her. You're not a problem, Zura. You're a person. A strong one. And I made a choice, a real one. Zura finally turned to him, and then her voice barely a whisper, she asked, will you do it again? What do you mean? She reached into her pocket and pulled out something small, a silver vine ring wrapped in soft red thread, faded, old, but sacred. She placed it in his hand. If you truly want to keep me safe, and if you truly want to keep the children with you, then marry me, not just by bond, but by law. Lance's eyes widened. Zura. She took a deep breath. Once I'm your mate, official and true, not even the guilds or the trade lords can take me, or the children. We'll belong to your name. We'll have your shield. Lance stared at the ring, then at her. This isn't just about protection, is it? She looked down. No, I want it because I want you. Not just as a soldier, not just as a savior, but as a man who saw me when no one else would. Lance was silent for a long time. Then he held the ring gently. And smiled. Then let's do it right. The next day, the camp gathered around the fire pit. Soldiers stood in loose groups, some confused, others curious. A quiet ceremony began. Zura stood in a fresh tunic, her hair brushed and braided by her children. Her skin glowed faintly under the soft sun. She was nervous, but proud. Lance stood across from her, wearing his clean uniform. In his hand was the same silver ring. An old alien medic, acting as witness, asked the words, do you, human Lance Carter, accept this female into your house, your name, and your protection? I do. And do you, widow Zura of Virexa, give your heart and your bond freely, without fear or force? Zura nodded. I do. The children clapped. A soft cheer rose from a few soldiers. Then Zura whispered, I have nothing to give you, Lance. No dowry. No land, no gold. He leaned in and said, you already gave me something. What? He smiled. A reason. Later that night, after the others had left, Zura sat with him outside the tent. Her children were curled up together, safe, warm. Zura looked at the stars. I never thought I'd belong to anyone again, she said softly. But now, I think I found a home. Lance looked at her. You didn't just find a home. You built one with your courage. She leaned her head on his shoulder. Thank you, husband, he chuckled. You know, that sounds strange. I'll say it again, she smiled. Husband. He looked at her, voice low. And I'll say this, wife. They both laughed quietly, but deep inside, neither of them had ever felt more real. Or more whole. The night was calm. Too calm. The campfire crackled quietly. The children were asleep. Zura was laughing softly with Lance over a story he told about Earth food, something called hot dogs, which she found very strange. She had never smiled this much in years, but that peace lasted only a moment, because the next one. She collapsed. Her eyes rolled back. The smile disappeared. She dropped the cup of soup she was drinking and fell against the side of the tent. Zura! Lance caught her just before her head hit the ground. She was shaking. Her breath came in sharp, shallow gasps. The children screamed. One tried to shake her. Another burst into tears. Lance picked her up in his arms and ran. Medbay! Now, inside the camp's small med tent, the human doctor moved fast. He scanned Zura's body, injected her with stabilizers, and frowned at the readings. What did she eat? The doctor asked. She had soup, Lance replied. Same as me. The doctor paused. Same soup, but only she reacted. Lance's eyes narrowed. What are you saying? The doctor didn't answer. He just looked down at Zura, still unconscious, her skin now pale with a bluish tint. It was laced with something. Weak enough to go unnoticed at first, but targeted. Meant for her. Poison, Lance growled. The doctor nodded. Someone had tried to kill Zura. Lance didn't sleep that night. He sat by her bedside, holding her hand, watching the heart monitor. Her children slept beside her, curled up like tiny animals seeking warmth and safety. But Lance's eyes were locked on the tent flap. He was thinking of one thing. Who? The next morning, the doctor gave the answer. We found traces of a rare root powder in the soup container, harmless to humans, but deadly to Virexans. Sabotage? Lance asked. Or jealousy? Lance clenched his jaw. I want names. It didn't take long. There had been only 3 people working in the mess area last night. One of them was Sarah, a female alien from another colony, assigned to cleaning duty. She was the only non-human on kitchen shift, and the only one who had openly spoken against Zura's presence at Camp. Lance found her scrubbing crates behind the food station. He walked up, calm but cold. Why'd you do it? Sarah didn't. Turn around. Do what? You know what? Sarah stood, slow and proud. She doesn't belong here. A widow like her doesn't get a second chance. She's dirt, leftovers. You're human, you should have known better. Lance stepped closer. She's more human than you'll ever be. She stole what I deserved, Sarah shouted. A tent, a mate, a future. You tried to kill a mother and leave her children orphans again. She's a mistake, Sarah hissed. No, Lance said, voice like steel. You are. Back in the medbay, Zura finally opened her eyes. Lance was there, right beside her. Her lips moved. The children. They're safe, he said. Right here. She looked at him, weak but grateful. What happened? You were poisoned. Zura blinked, stunned. Why? Lance looked away. Because someone hates that I chose you. Zura was quiet for a moment. Then she whispered, maybe they're right. Maybe I don't belong here. Lance turned sharply. Don't ever say that. She looked at him, tears forming. I don't want to bring danger to the children. Or to you. You're my wife, he said. This family is mine now, and I will protect it, always. He leaned down and pressed his forehead to hers. I don't care what they think. I care what I know. And I know this, you are not going anywhere. Later that night, Zura sat with her children wrapped in blankets. The camp had gone quiet again. She looked at the stars and held her little ones close. I almost left you, she whispered, but he pulled me back. Lance came out of the tent and stood beside her. She looked up at him and smiled softly. Do you still want me, even after this? He nodded. I didn't marry you out of pity, Zura. She tilted her head. Then why? Lance looked at her, voice calm but full of truth. Because you're worth fighting for. The sky above the camp burned golden orange. As two suns set together, something rare even on Virexa, Zura stood quietly at the edge of the camp, watching the horizon. She held a small piece of cloth in her hands. It was from her old robe, the one she wore when Lance first found her, torn, dirty. But it reminded her of where she came from, behind her. Laughter echoed. Her children were playing, laughing, chasing one another. For the first time in their lives, they sounded like children who were free, and Zura didn't feel like a widow anymore. She felt something different. She felt alive. She closed her eyes and whispered, "Please, let me deserve this." Inside the tent, Lance was packing his gear. He had been offered a transfer, one that came with more pay, more rank. But also without his new family. The commanding officer had said, "You've done your part, Carter. Time to move on. Leave the alien pets behind." But Lance didn't reply. Not yet. Zura stepped into the tent, quiet as a shadow. He turned and smiled. "You okay?" She nodded. "The kids are good. They're asking if they can keep the cube light." "Forever," Lance chuckled. "Of course they can. It's theirs now." She hesitated, then asked softly, "Are we yours too?" Lance looked up slowly, serious now. "You were mine the day I stepped between you and those soldiers." She moved closer, voice trembling. "I'm not talking about protection, Lance. I know." She swallowed. "I want to be yours, not out of safety. Not out of fear. Not because I needed help, but because I want you." Lance's breath caught in his chest. Zura stepped even closer. "When you first found me, I was only trying to survive. I thought the best I could do was stay quiet and hidden. But you gave me more. A chance to live." She placed her hand on his chest. "You saved me. But I don't want to be a rescued thing anymore. I want to stand beside you. As your equal. As your wife, not your burden." Lance stared at her. His hands reached for hers, holding them tight. "You're not a burden," he said. "You're the strongest soul I've ever met." Tears filled her eyes. "Then let's start again. Not as the widow and the soldier, but as something real. Something whole." The next day, Lance turned down the transfer. He walked straight into the command tent and said, "I have a family. And I'm not leaving them behind." The commander scoffed. "You're wasting your future, Carter." Lance looked him in the when. I just found it." Back at the camp, Zura worked with the medics, helping treat wounds. Her children had started classes with the base's teaching bot. Lance trained during the day and cooked with the kids at night. He taught them Earth songs, and they taught him Virexan riddles. And one quiet evening, under the stars, the oldest child looked up at Lance and said, "Can I call you father now?" Lance knelt down and smiled. "You already do." Later, Zura sat beside him at the fire. The soft wind moved through her hair. Her hand rested in his. She whispered, "I used to think I'd never be touched with love again." He kissed her fingers gently. "And I used to think I'd never be needed again." She smiled. "Now we both know better." They leaned close, forehead to forehead, heart to heart. And together, under two alien moons, a soldier and a widow, two lost souls, found their new life. Not by war. Not by fate, but by choice.